Yashodanandana Praja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki. Dann hier. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. You're reading from Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 20. These are the instructions to Sanatana Goswami. Text 275. Kala Britya tu Mayayam Kala Britya tu Mayayam Gunamayam Adokshacha Gunamayam Adokshacha Purushenatma Bhutena Purushenatma Bhutena Viryam Adhata Viryavan Viryam Adhata Viryavan. Ja, mag jemand chanten? So. Kalavrityatu Mayayam Gunamayam Adokshaja Purushenatma Bhutena Viryam Adhata Viryavan. Mataji's. Caitanya. In due course of time, as the immediate cause of creation. 2. But Mayayam, within the material nature. Gunamayam, full of the three material modes of nature. Sattvaguna, Rajaguna and Tamaguna. Adokshachaha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond material conceptions. Purushena, by the enjoyer of material nature. Atma Bhutena, who is an expansion of his personal self. Viryam, semen. Adata, placed. Viryavan, the omnipotent. Translation. In due course of time, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mahavaikuntanath, by the agency of an expansion of his personal self, Mahavishnu, placed the seed of the living entities within the womb of material nature. Purport. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 3.5.26. This verse tells how the living entities come in contact with material nature. Just as a woman cannot beget children without uniting with a man, material nature cannot beget living entities without being in union with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is a history of how the Absolute Lord becomes the father of all living entities. In every system of religion, it is accepted that God is the Supreme Father of all living entities. According to Christianity, the Supreme Father, God, provides the living entities with all of life's necessities. Therefore, they pray, "Give us this day our daily bread." Any religion that does not accept the Supreme Lord as the Absolute Father is called Kaitava Dharma, or a cheating religion. Such religious systems are rejected in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.2, Dharma Prochita Kaitavotra. Only an atheist does not accept the omnipotent Supreme Father. If one accepts the omnipotent Supreme Father, he abides by his orders and becomes a religious person. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Rakshurumilitamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam pangung langayate kirim yat kripatam ahang vande Shri Gurundina Taranam. Shri Chaitanya manobistam stapitam yena bhutale swayam rupa kadamayam dadati swavanantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Again the verse. In due course of time, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mahavaikuntanath, by the agency of an expansion of his personal self, Mahavishnu, placed the seed of the living entities within the womb of material nature. Hare Krishna. So, in this episode of our of the Caitanya Caritamrita, there is a description giving of the creation of the material world, how everything comes about. And this is quite important actually. It's quite important that we understand how is everything happening and where is everything coming from, and any system of religion, any scripture, any philosophy tries to answer these questions. This is one of the main questions of a human being who thinks, where is everything coming from? What is this everything? Who am I? Right? As soon as we start thinking, even children when they are small, they start wondering about so many things. So this is the inquisitive nature of a human being, which is quite interesting that we have that, like no other living entity. No other living entity reflects like that. All other living entities, they are just living. They're just living. And it's said in Shastra, Ahara Nira Baya Maitunamja. These are the 4 qualities which a human has in common with the animals. Ahara, eating, then fearing, mating, and Ahara Nira, sleeping. Yeah? This is what we have in common with the animals. But there's one thing what the animals don't have, and this is the inquisitiveness to ask questions, especially to find out about Dharma. Yeah. So it's also said, Atatu Brahma Jigyasa. Now it's time to ask questions about Brahman. Brahman means the absolute, means God, the highest. But actually it means now it's time to ask questions about anything, because everything is related to Brahman. Everything is in connection to God. So, and it's natural to start questioning the world, the universe. Where is this huge thing coming from? Why is it how it is? And Vedic scriptures have answer to that. And here in this verse we hear that, of course, this is just one part of the whole creation story. It's one part of it. It said how the living entities come inside. Yeah, how the living entities come inside. So maybe children can just, I'm not patient enough, you know. I know they want to play. I have also a son, and it's very difficult. I cannot concentrate if there's a distraction. Sorry. Yeah, this is just one part of the creation, how the living entities come inside. But before that is explained how the universe is an expansion. It's an expansion of Krishna. It emanates of Krishna, of a form of Krishna is called Mahavishnu. It's a special form of Krishna. And actually, even though Prabhupada makes it sound very simple in this purport, actually it's very complex. Not just complex, there are many steps towards the end product of this nature. It's not so simple that, okay, there is a God, Father, and He creates the universe and that's it. There are many, many steps in between how everything manifests. Because in one sense, we say Krishna, we say to God Krishna, but actually Krishna is not the creator of the universe. In one sense, Krishna is not even God. Krishna is not God. Because what does God mean? God means exactly that what we are discussing here, the one who creates the universe. This is God, what we call God. Anyway, the word God is not a Sanskrit term, right? We're mixing. We are speaking now English, and we try to explain in the English language thought and thought heritage of a completely different culture in one sense. And not just is the culture different, the descriptions are different, the concepts are different. They are given in Sanskrit language. And there's always, this difficulty will always be there to understand in this language properly what is meant there. Yeah. So it's an interesting predicament. But still, the word God, because what does the word God anyway mean? Of course, we know because we use it so often, we grew up with it, we have we think we know what it means. Yeah. And of course, in the Vedas, there is a similar concept, definitely there, but you will not find the word God. You might have different words, maybe like Ishvara. This might be the best translation of the word God, Ishvara, the Lord, the one who controls, right? And of course, Krishna is the Ishvara. I said, Ishvara Parama Krishna. He is the supreme Ishvara. Of course. But which feature of Krishna? Right? Which feature of Krishna? Because it said Krishna is more or less just doing what he likes to do the most. Playing with his friends, dancing with the gopis. This is really what he does. In Vrindavan, this is what he does. You will not hear Krishna, saying to Madhya Yashoda, okay, I will not tend cows today, I have to go to the workshop and create a universe. Creating a universe and then creating some souls and putting them inside. And this is actually what God means. And this is how, like Prabhupada even refers here to Christianity, this is what God means. This is like the supreme feature of God, is being the creator. Being the creator. But we know from our scriptures, the creator actually is not Brahma. Brahma is the secondary creator. Like the original creator. Who is the original creator, right? It's Vishnu. It's Vishnu. He makes the primary creation. It's called Sarga, the primary creation. And the secondary, Visarga, creation is done by Brahma. It's the second creator. So, and this Vishnu, who is actually directly in contact with material nature, and then is another interesting feature. It said Vishnu is never in contact with the material nature, with Prakriti. He's never in contact with it. It's that the Shiva feature, the feature of Vishnu, which is Shiva, is actually in contact with material nature. It even goes further, because Vishnu is completely transcendental. He has nothing to do with it. And this interesting question, how can spirit anyway be in contact with matter? How is this anyway working? This is a complete different energy. How is the connection happening? How is where is it touching? Where is it causing it? Very difficult to understand. How? But it's happening. Krishna can do that, of course. So if you go further back, so you have Vishnu, and in the end you see that Krishna, it's explained in Caitanya Caritamrita that first he expands. We use this word expanding. But it's also a difficult term, because expansion, as we use it, it means there is something coming which was not before. Right? When we say expansion, meaning we say he expands into Balaram. But Balaram was sometimes not existing. He was always existing. So what does expansion then mean? Right? Because we always understand he comes from him, he comes from him, he comes from him, right? We have this chain reaction, right? And we understand that first was Krishna, then was Balaram, then was the Chatu of Vyuha, then the second Chatu of Vyuha, and then comes Vishnu, Mahavishnu, and then comes Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, and so on. And it sounds like, okay, there was, that one comes from him. It says like, Diparchar eva hita shantaram apyupetya, dipayate vivrita hetu samana dharma. As one candle is lit by another one, and the next one, this is how the Lord expands. But that means there was a time when the expansions were not existing. But at the same time we know, of course, these expansions exist eternally. Balaram is eternal, as is Vishnu. So where was the expansion then happening? So it's very difficult how to really understand it. Of course, it's a different sphere. It's a different sphere. And we see this conflict over and over again. Right? We see it in the description of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu given in Caitanya Caritamrita. Right? It said, when Krishna and Radha unite, it's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Right? And when Mahaprabhu kind of separates, it's Radha Krishna. But I can only say these are like approximations. Of course, the Mayavadis or the Advaita Vedantis, they like to use this phrase kind of. It's not to describe with words. Right? And actually it's true. Even this word, adokshacha, we have here, means it's not understood by the senses. And the mind is one of the senses. So Krishna is adokshacha. He's not understood by material facility. He says he is only to be understood by bhakti. Yeah. Not through material facilities. So in that sense, as I read yesterday, there is a saying also in Shastra, that even Shastra is approximation. And the example is given, if you want to show the moon to a child, you help yourself by showing the twigs or the branches of a tree as an approximation, as a direction. Okay, you cannot see the moon, it's too far away or whatever, too small. Here, look through these branches, at these branches, there behind, there's the moon. And it's even said Shastra has this effect. Shastra Of course we know it's absolute and all that. We should not make the mistake of undermining now our trust in Shastra. Oh, it's not then the absolute, it's just the approximation towards the absolute. No, it's a very important and necessary and essential step towards the absolute truth. It's not that you can go other way around actually. You need this approximation as the child needs the branches to see the moon. Right? So it's not to think now, oh, it's not important or something. No. Definitely it's most important. But still it's an approximation. Shastra itself is in that sense not the goal. The realization of the content of Shastra, the information is the goal. What's the use of knowing all Shastra by heart? Yes, it's of use if you use it and work with it and realize it, but just for the sake of knowing it, theoretical knowledge, it's of no use. Just to be, what? Learn it. But still, it gives you a lot of benefit if we use it. So we have to understand Shastra, use it in the proper way. But still it's an approximation, meaning now we work with the mind, even understanding Shastra, and it has to be realized on a higher, way higher platform, and to have the proper experience of it. And then we know what we're talking about. And then what I wanted to say is that all these informations, they are in that sense approximation, and they are even contradictory because they try to explain something which is definitely adokshacha. The Lord is adokshacha, His realm is adokshacha, and whatever happens there is adokshacha. It cannot be understood by senses, cannot be understood by the mind. And the laws which govern this world are not working there. Right? And especially this law of causation, which is fundamental to this world and even to our existence in this world. We need causation to exist here, and in order to understand this world, even us, we need this causation, principle of causation, of causality. But it's, as far as I understand, not at all existing in the spiritual world. Not at all. It's not there. Because it's connected with time. Right? Causation and time are depending on each other in one sense. But there's no time. So this whole spiritual world works in a complete different way. And then works in a different way which we cannot understand. Because we are in the material world. But at the same time we try to understand this spiritual world with our material means. So it means this is an approximation. We kind of try to put the principles, the workings, the mechanics of the spiritual reality and of Krishna, we put it into our framework. And this is of course not working. It's not working in a perfect way. It works in a enough way, so to say, to have some understanding of whatever this is and whatever's going on there. And it should be enough to make the most important, to bring about the most important, to make us eager to want to attain this reality. This is actually more or less what's all about. That we start, okay, I want to go there, I want to experience that, I want to, in the end, I want to love Krishna. I want to surrender to Krishna. And all this theoretical is just to kickstart this endeavor. Because then real knowledge will be revealed in the heart. And then everything will be understood in a different way, not with the mind anymore, it's on a different platform. As Krishna says, Bhaktya mam abhichanati yavanyas jasmi tattvataha. Yeah, right? Everyone knows this verse. It's a very interesting verse in this regard. Because Krishna says, you can understand me only through bhakti, which is already a spiritual thing. And he says, in tattva, you can understand me in tattva, that means in truth. Tattva means the isness. Tat means like that, the deadness of something. Yeah? So the essence, the trueness of something is tattva, or we say truth. Tattva. So this tattva can only be understood by bhakti, and not by jnana. He doesn't say, through jnana you can't understand me as I am. No, only through bhakti. So bhakti depends in that sense on the revelation. Of course, it's our activity to do bhakti, but then in response comes the realization, the revelation of all this truth. So a devotee, a bhakta, who is completely surrendered to Krishna and serves him, he can have all the truth revealed in his heart. And like devotees like Prabhupada and the acharyas, you have this truth in their heart, try now with their best of their means to explain this to us. All right? And then the acharyas, Prabhupada, he tries to see, okay, who understands what, and what can I explain him or her, in which ways? Right? But not to explain it to us, but more to make us also want to experience that. Yeah. So it's complicated, right? And that's why you have so many religions and so many views and so many different opinions. But in the end, a devotee who is serious should never get his bhakti, his determination, get converted or subdued or, how to say, undermined by conflicting ideas. This is a problem, because the more we go into the matter, it sounds sometimes quite confusing and contradictory. And the worst thing you can do, the absolute worst thing is, then nothing is true. Because they say this is true and this is true, but they cannot go together, then nothing is true. Yeah, Maya Parita Jnana, they are bewildered by the illusion, yeah, by their intelligence, overthinking. So yeah, it's difficult then to say, okay, this is true and this is true. And this and this and this and this and this. Everything is true. But then you should not become also monistic. Yeah, everything is the same. It's also a problem. Huh? Yeah. So that's why it's so important to, as Prabhupada gives the process in the beginning, right from the beginning, in a practical way, that any devotee can have some experience and say, it works. This is my conviction. This is why I do it, because it works. Not because it makes absolute sense, because nothing makes absolute sense. Nothing makes absolute sense. There is no philosophy in the world or science which can explain everything in the proper or right way. If that would be the case, then there would be the one philosophy in the whole world, and everyone has to abide by it. There would be no religions, there would be no other philosophies, nothing. It would be the one thing, because we found out this is how it goes, and everyone agrees on it, and yes, this is the truth. But it's not there. In any field of knowledge, you have disagreements and different views. Like scientists, they are hitting themselves on the head with their textbooks. They are completely conflicting ideas in any field. In any field. The more you go into the study or the science, actually the more contradictory it gets. It doesn't matter if it's biology or physics or astronomy or law or whatever, philosophy, whatever. In that sense, don't think. Don't think. Don't think about it. It will confuse you. And it should be like that. It should be like that. There was a philosopher, I only hear this, I never read anything from him, I just heard this quote. His name was Buber. He was like a Jewish philosopher, and he said, "The God whom I can understand, I don't believe in." Right? God cannot be. I don't want to believe in a God whom I can understand. That would mean I couldn't put him in my head. He is quite small, actually. No, he must be the mysterious one. And it must even go into the contradictory, because the contradiction is the ultimate misunderstanding, so to say. This, you cannot figure it out. Buber, Jakob Buber or something? Buber. Yeah. Anyway, so back to our point. So as much as we can understand from our Shastra, what we heard today is that Vishnu, and it said Mahavishnu, and in that sense, actually, even that is that can be more specified. Actually, it's a Garbhoda Kashai Vishnu, as I most of the time understand. He gives the souls into the material world. Okay, maybe it's always a difficult word, but maybe it's like this, that Mahavishnu gives the souls to Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, who puts him directly in their position. Because in this verse it was actually said it was Mahavishnu, who was his virya, the semen. Okay, this is not his semen, these are actually the souls. What was spoken here are the souls which were given in this material universe. Impregnated. And Prabhupada uses the example also of how to produce a child. That a mother, a woman, will never give birth to a child unless the man gives the semen to her. It will never happen. She can wait. I'm a feminist. I don't need men. It will come by itself. Like the trees, also they make like they just throw out the semen, it falls and then it grows. Maybe. Yeah, would be quite a mysterious thing. Of course, there are exceptions, like we speak about Christianity. There was one woman, she was called Mary. It's called the Immaculate, what is it called, Immaculate Pregnancy or something? Die unbefleckte Empfängnis. I think her husband had also a hard time. Who was it? No one. Who was it? I guess she had a problem explaining it to him. Yeah, said also with Krishna was also like that. No, with Krishna but different, because it's said there that Krishna entered in the mind of Vasudeva, then his heart, and from his heart to Devaki's heart, and into the womb. But this was still the man. With Krishna it was still Vasudeva. Krishna came to Vasudeva and then to her. But there, because Joseph, he did not know why is she pregnant suddenly, and he wondered who was it. And then the angel had to appear in a dream that no, it's okay. It was God Himself, and she got then Jesus. This is the story. So if you are married, you can wait. But if you're not married and you want to have a child, you should get married. Go the traditional route. Yeah. So, and the souls are given into this material universe. This is the Jivatma, this is us. We are given into this material universe by Vishnu. And we are living in this material universe from life to life to life, and we go to different life forms. And as I said in the beginning, the human form of life is so special because this is the only form how to get out of the universe. This is the big topic of the Shastra. How to get out of the material energy. How can we bring about the separation between us and matter, which is now troubling us. This is one of the main topics of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna speaks so much about it, how to avoid getting born again, how to avoid getting karma, which is the reason why to get born again, how to come to me. Because since a long time we're in this material world. Even the word anadi is used. Right? Anadi, it's that the connection between the soul and matter is anadi. It means without beginning. Some even say it means without beginning. Like we hear that always it means the beginning was in the spiritual world, and this is no material beginning. This is why it's said beginningless. But there are some who say no, it means beginningless. So we can discuss about that also. Yeah, but it's a long time, and we have been in a long time in this material world. And now as humans we can get out of it. And if we miss the chance, of course now as devotees we know we carry on our devotional advancement to the next life. In one sense we are safe. In one sense we are safe. Meaning we cannot fall down again. Fall down means we cannot fall down from this at least human consciousness or human birth. Cannot fall down. Because fall down in that sense means to fall back into this pool of living entities who are completely controlled by karma, who are completely ignorant, who go from one life to the next and are directed more or less by the material energy and lose their chance for a long time of getting out. This is what Prabhupada often calls in falling down, to lose this chance. But he said a devotee who starts this devotional practice cannot fall down, even though not finishing the process in this life, you will continue next life, right? And Krishna and Bhagavatam itself very often speaks about this power of bhakti in that sense, that you cannot fall down again. You're saved. You're already saved. The devotee is already saved. But at the same time, we should not take it for granted. Oh, I cannot fall down. Yeah, you cannot fall down if you keep yourself on the devotional platform. Yeah, if you leave that, you fall down. You can fall down. Of course, Krishna always protects, will bring us back. It's different than a materialist. Like there are so many humans out there, right? Here, Bavaria, forest, working, whatever they do, right? And if they have no bhakti, in next life they might be gone from the human plane, from the platform. They might be gone. They might become animals for thousands of years, microbes, plants, and they lose their chance for a long time. Of course, people here in this area are quite religious. There's some bhakti. It might help them. Because sometimes I wonder, especially in regard to this reincarnation research, that all the humans they interview, they were humans in the last life, but we know if someone was very sinful, he becomes an animal. So why are they always saying, oh, in last life he was this and that? And obviously not having been a devotee. So I wondered, how is it working? He cannot be a human, he must be an animal now. So I can only understand that any religion where there's some bhakti, form of bhakti, it protects. Because many of them were like meat eaters before. How can a meat eater become born as a human again? Theoretically not possible. Must be an animal, must go to hellish worlds, animal, gone. So my point is that there might be some bhakti there which is protecting them. Right? Because in Christianity there's bhakti, obviously. There's bhakti means a devotional, loving, at least sentiment towards God. A personal God especially. Personality, anyway, there's a different topic about personality, but if there's some sentiment in this sense, this is bhakti. Right? So that's why Prabhupada was not abolishing religion. If the religions besides Vaishnava Dharma would be like useless, because there's no bhakti, he would have told them, this is all useless what you're doing. You should stop it. Don't go to church, don't pray, don't go to the mosque, it's useless. This is no religion, this is no bhakti, it's an illusion. But he was not doing that. He was actually encouraging them, no, keep on going to church, keep on praying, all that is good. Because this is bhakti. And bhakti has an self-manifesting quality. When you do bhakti, with time Krishna will reveal more, help more, lead us on the path. He guides us. So anyway, back to this point. So the souls are giving into this material world. We go from living entity to living entity. Finally, we have become humans. We can think. And finally, we have come to Krishna. This is a huge thing. This is incredible. It's incredible. It's amazing. It's rare. Bhakti is rare. It's very rare. Sudurlabha means very hard to attain. Very hard to attain. We have gotten it. And how it's said? Because of the mercy of the spiritual master. Of the devotees. Because of the mercy of the devotees. Because we were discussing in our interview, how is bhakti manifesting? How is bhakti coming about? Why does someone have bhakti and someone else does not? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur wants to explain to us why, how is bhakti manifesting? And he asks, where is it coming from? And normally everyone would say, he's like It comes from Krishna. Bhakti comes from Krishna. But then he says, if bhakti would come from Krishna, Krishna would be partial. Okay, the first thing is he asks karma, right? Sorry, before to Krishna, karma. Does someone get bhakti because he is very good? And does someone not get bhakti because he's bad? Like a proper good person, getting up in the morning, giving donations, going to work, being very kind and loving to his children and wife, and being dutiful, all that. Is that helpful for getting bhakti? And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says no. Because this is karma, it's just material. It cannot touch bhakti, it has no correlation to bhakti. There must be some other reason why someone gets bhakti. It cannot be the material situation, and we know sinful people get bhakti. Sometimes very sinful people become devotees, they change. I knew a couple of quite tough people who became devotees, who were, myself, I might have been not too criminal, but I wouldn't consider myself being a very nice and kind person, and maybe the opposite was more the case. So, and then he says, okay, then it must be Krishna. Krishna gives bhakti. But then, Krishna would be partial. Why do we sit here, and in the other building there, they sit in front of the TV and eat their, nice morning bread with some pieces of cow on it, and drink their coffee with cognac. And watch a horror movie or something. I don't know, right? Sometimes worse situations. Why can we sit here and be devotees, have the privilege of being devotees, and others not? And this is especially interesting for those who were doing that what I described before. I was sitting there in front of my TV set and doing all these kinds of things, and now can sit here and be a devotee. Why do some get bhakti and some not? If Krishna would be doing that, why does he choose him and not him? Why am I sitting here, my friend of many years ago, with whom I was hanging out, with whom I even was in the temple, things like that? Why could I join and he not? He said, no, it's not for me. Why? Oh, because Krishna chose me. And not him. No, I don't like him, I like you. But then on which grounds would Krishna choose? Oh, because I don't know, his voice is nicer than his. Or he's more intelligent, or he's less intelligent. I like this stupid guy. I give him bhakti. Or because he helped this lady, old lady, across the street. No, material things cannot be the... Krishna sees the heart, he sees the soul actually. Maybe he says, oh, this soul I don't like, this soul I like. Why does he give some bhakti not? So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, it cannot be Krishna. It cannot be Krishna who gives bhakti. Right?
Is it associated with karma?
He says it's not associated with karma. It's not associated with karma. Karma cannot produce bhakti. Right? So where is it coming from? And then his only conclusion is bhakti comes from bhakti. Bhakti comes from bhakti itself. And how is bhakti transmitted? Bhakti is transmitted by a bhakta, by a devotee who gives bhakti to others. And he tries everything to give. But then my question is, okay, yeah, thank you. The Acharya gives us some answer, but I explain to this person about bhakti, I explain bhakti to this person, he takes up bhakti and he doesn't. Why? I say the same to him, I say the same to him. We know it on book distribution. Why does he take a book and he does not? It's very mysterious. And then he says, yeah, because bhakti is self-manifesting. Bhakti is the reason for itself, and it's in that sense a miracle and a mystery. It's not understood. How? It's not understood. In the same point, where's the causality for that? Right? Very difficult to understand. So anyway, bhakti comes from bhakti itself. So we are in this privileged position that we can practice bhakti now, and we should try now everything, because he says the devotee is helping to further the cause of bhakti. Actually, we should do anything and everything now to spread bhakti. This is the natural conclusion. Not, oh, I have it now, that's nice, oh, my little bhakti. And those others? Is there something you need? No, I have my bhakti. I have my bhakti and you go to hell. In one sense, no preaching means like that. You all go to hell. Go to hell. And I am saved. You know? Tough, no? Tough. But actually it's like that because bhakti is very powerful. It will save. Of course, pious life also saves. It's not that everyone who does not practice bhakti goes to hell. Okay, not now, but eventually. Because we mess it up. This life we might be very pious, next life pious, next life pious, next life impious. And you go to hell. This is the problem. The material position is very insecure. Now you go to heavenly planets, then you go to the earth again heavenly planets maybe, and then sometimes you slip. We have all been to hell. We've all been to human, animal forms of life. That's what means fall down again. Lose this chance of bhakti, of devotional service. So anyway, but in this regard also, Caitanya Mahaprabhu says, Bhakti Lata Bija. Why is bhakti starting? Because a devotee who has bhakti gives you bhakti, and it's called Bhakti Lata Bij. It's a seed given into the heart. But the seed can only grow on fertile grounds. Right? So there's some fertile ground of the devotee, and in that sense, yeah, and that's why it said, what is this verse? Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Kara Idoi. This verse. When it said that bhakti, prema, is originally in the heart, but actually, in one sense it is, in one sense it's not. The fertile ground, like the capacity, the potential for bhakti is in everyone, in every soul, but it can only blossom and grow when the seed is given, and the seed comes from outside. So that's why some even say there is no pre-existing bhakti in the soul. Right? Some say there is no pre-existing bhakti in the soul. Prabhupada makes the other point, more from the other point. No, it is, but it's more the fertile ground which needs the bija. So this bija is given by the guru. No? What is it? Pramande konye bhagavanchiya guru Krishna prasade by bhakti lata bija. This verse. Right? The soul wanders through the whole universe, up, down, left, right, wandering, searching, lost. And then suddenly the seed, bhakti lata bija, guru Krishna prasade. It's given by the prasad, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna. It's a cooperation, both of them, right? And the Guru is a devotee. And Bhakti Lata Bij gives this seed in the heart. This is when the devotee accepts, yes, Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, I want to serve Him, and then your devotional development starts. And then this seed is growing through the watering of the hearing of the holy name. And it will fructify more and more. And it will manifest. It will manifest in the revelation of your spiritual form. And it said only with this spiritual form actually we can enter the spiritual world. It's called Siddhadeha. Siddhadeha, the perfect form. And it will manifest. It will manifest through the devotional activities. Especially through the hearing and chanting. And one thing is very interesting. Actually I read today in the morning, more or less by accident, in a talk between Ramananda Roy and Caitanya Mahaprabhu, which is very long, but one point is made that you can only attain Radha Krishna through one thing. Because their goal is Radha Krishna. Someone else's goal might be another form of Krishna. But those who want to attain Radha Krishna, the only way, he says, is through Gopi Bhava. Gopi Bhava, meaning the love of the gopis. Bhava, Gopi Bhava. And with this comes the Siddhadeha, and with this you can enter the spiritual world. But Gopi Bhava starts, not Siddhadeha. And Gopi Bhava means the love of the gopis. And how do you get the love of the gopis? How you understand it? By hearing about the gopis. hearing about the gopis. And it's very interesting when we do that, when we hear about Krishna's pastimes, and especially about the devotees, because you have to listen and hear the devotees, you follow the footsteps, you follow the devotees. Their bhava, bhava means their love, also their consciousness or their mood, right? It will be understood, right? It will be understood in the spiritual way. This is the mood of those devotees and this is the mood of those devotees. And the more you hear about this mood, the preferred mood, it will manifest, it will be understood, it will be manifest in the devotee's heart also. You understand? This is called bhava, this is the mood. And with this, the Siddha Deha follows. Because the Siddha Deha, or the spiritual form, is a manifestation of the mood. But at first is the mood, the love. The form is a condensed form of the love, actually. Yeah. Okay, so this is my point for today. Yeah? So the devotional activity, which is powered by the holy name, all this internal development will happen, and the holy name is so powerful that it can manifest anything. But at the same time, we have to fix our goal. That's why Prabhupada gave the Krishna Lila, Krishna book, all these informations. And for me, I understand, I hear the holy name, and these informations about Vrindavan and all that is like the background in my consciousness by chanting. Because I remember when I started chanting, definitely it was more mechanical, and it was also because I did not understand whose name I was chanting. And when you don't know who's Hare Krishna, there's no association, no understanding, there is no knowledge. How do you understand whose name you're chanting? By hearing, inform yourself about this personality. And it's not done by just reading 10 minutes or something. You have to read actually many years and understand and think. And then more and more Krishna will, be understood. He will manifest somehow more and more. And then when you say Krishna, you don't have to think about Krishna. Just by saying his name, he is manifest. He is there. Yeah, and this powers your mood. And I was thinking also about this. It said this is the internal path. We have talked so often about it. Yeah, because Siddha Deha, this is such a long topic anyway. I don't want to go into it, but because some want to have Siddha Deha now and manifest it out to the cultivation, to the bhajan. And it's true that might work, but still it said it's an external path. Why? Because the internal path is to follow the mood, not go other way around. The other way would, okay, Siddha Deha and this and that, and through this I come to the bhava, to the love. But the internal path of Raghunath Das Goswami is you go through the bhava and develop everything else. Everything follows the bhava. And that's why internal, it's more natural. Because you use the little bit of bhava, what you have right now, in your chanting. Right? And through this manifests everything else. It will expand. The bhava will expand. So anyway, this point of the background, the Krishna Lila, Krishna's pastime, is like the background of the chanting. It's not in the foreground. In the foreground is the mantra, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So the cultivation of the understanding of the name, you don't have to do separately or beforehand. That's why we study the Bhagavatam. We learn about Krishna. We hear his pastimes. We hear about his devotees. And you will like him more and more. And you will like to chant his name. And you don't have to think about him in a separate way during chanting, because you know about whom you are talking. And I gave last time a similar point. When I speak now about Subal, yeah? And I speak with you about Subal. Oh, Subal. I say the name, you know who I mean. I say the name, I know whom I mean. I don't have to think Subal. He's this guy with the glasses and an orange and short hair, and he's like this and that. I don't have to separately imagine the person about whom I'm talking. But Prabhupada says when you chant properly, it will happen that remembrance and knowledge and revelation about the form and pastime, it will manifest through the holy name. Because some think Okay, you can do anything. Any meditation about Krishna is okay, I would say. But but you don't have to think separately about Krishna and his name and all that in order to chant or somehow or other, right? It will manifest. And if it happens like this, it will not hinder your hearing the holy name. Actually, the holy name becomes more clear. But if you do it externally on a mental plane, you're subverting your attention from the holy name, which would give you the essential revelation of Krishna's personality. And actually, yesterday I read a quote, I end with this, about the chanting, where Prabhupada explains exactly like this, that the holy name is very powerful. I should have the quote now written, but I don't have it. So, but he explains then that, yeah, more or less exactly like this. When you chant the holy name, the Nama, Guna, Rupa, Lila, and he says two other things, which I actually never heard before. One was like Vasishta, and the other one was like Pari. I think it was like the associates. But everything manifests out of the holy name. He really says like this, everything manifests out of the holy name. The holy name is so powerful. It's not different from Krishna. No, it was in a compilation book. Yeah, but it's true that it's hard for me to understand. Of course, if someone is like open and completely pure, so to say, and he has no clue about Krishna, he just chants Hare Krishna and everything can manifest. But this is also not the way. Prabhupada gave us all this knowledge and we should study about Krishna and we should use both of it, but both at the right situation. If it would be like that actually no information about Krishna beforehand is needed, so to say, or help wouldn't be helpful, why was Prabhupada giving all these books? And Krishna book and all that? You could say, just chant Hare Krishna, that's it. And it's true for rare people, very rare people, and Prabhupada goes even so far, in the Caitanya Caritamrita, I should find a verse, where actually it's said like that, the holy name is enough. And Prabhupada makes a huge purport, explains how the holy name is not enough. That you need initiation, you need second initiation, you need Gayatri, you need all that to make you qualified that the holy name is enough. This is kind of the point. The holy name would be enough if you're very advanced. And then dann quälst du dich nicht durch deine 16 Runden. It's not that you have to force 16 rounds and fall asleep. That means you chant like Haridas Thakur. So Prabhupada gave many things which we should use, and especially we should use all the information about Krishna, so that you know whose name you're chanting, and then you chant more and more. You really develop this loving relationship with Krishna, and then everything else follows. And even Siddhadeha, your spiritual form, will manifest through this meditation. It's amazing. Understand? And this, as I said, this spiritual form manifests out of the mood of the bhava. And you have a spiritual body. And then you leave this body, this material body, and your spiritual body, and go to Krishna. This is what it's about, right? This is our spiritual practice. But to help all that, all these devotion activities we do are very important, especially the congregational chanting and also the preaching. That's my suspicion, that preaching is, because it's not, oh, this is the important thing, okay, now just chant and take care of my spiritual life. If you preach and help others, you get so many blessings that your own spiritual life gets way easier and way faster. Very powerful. Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you for your attention. Any questions? Yes? And I want to add on all that, because we touched quite maybe difficult, sometimes even controversial points, and this is my understanding of it, I have to really say. Even though the speaker should represent Vyasadeva and speak Shastra, but at the same time, Shastra, there are many opinions on many of these points I spoke also, right? And this is definitely coming through my lens or my Atmavan Manyate Jagat, Atmavan Manyate Krishna. So, as my mind is, I understand Krishna, and It's really like this. It's very difficult to speak absolute truth, right? There are some points which are like clear for everyone, but even those are complicated. As I said, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Alright, this seems to be, yes, of course. But Krishna, who speaks the Bhagavad Gita, because Supreme Personality of Godhead would mean Svayam Bhagavan. But Krishna, who speaks Bhagavad Gita, is not Svayam Bhagavan. Even he is expansion of Vrindavan Krishna. Right? It's Vasudev Krishna already there. Everything is quite complicated. Yeah? So it's very difficult. So that's what I mean. It's more or less what I understand about these topics, and there might be, and it's good that there would be also discussions, and we try to find a solution for all these things. And that's why Krishna's Bhakti Mamachanati. Through Bhakti, you will understand it in heart. You will it will get revealed. So we all have to work on our own truth with Krishna. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. I'm sorry that I need to revert back to a more boring topic because we talked a lot about rasa. But I asked myself, because you said that there are some contradictions that we will never be able to resolve, and if you argue with certain religious people, and you point out a contradiction, then they say, well, but you can't know God, right? So, and God dissolves all contradictions. So, and as you said, certain contradictions seem to be admissible. The question is how to determine which contradictions are admissible and which are not. So, I mean, we reject many things, whether it's sectarian religion or Mayavad philosophy, on logical grounds, because it says it's contradictory. But then those people could say, but how can you understand God? How can you say, okay, God doesn't make sense, so I reject it?
No, that contradiction is not, they are right from the beginning. If then nothing can be understood. And then there is no use of our intelligence. But intelligence is given by Krishna in order to understand the world. But it has a limit, that's what I meant. There's a limit. And behind that limit, your intelligence will not work. It cannot solve. But it's a long way until we come to this limit. And so in that sense, intelligence is very, very helpful. It's not that we are now completely lost. Oh, we are just, this Buddhi is useless. No, it's given by Krishna. It's very powerful. It's very powerful. But it's not all powerful. That's what I meant. And we should use it very well. Yeah.
So where's the limit? Where's the limit of contradictions that you can accept?
Yeah, I cannot say now where it's the limit, but I just mean there are some limits where I can see that this, how, like with this causality and what I said like this. So, but it doesn't mean that we negate that. That's the other wrong. As I said, this would be the fault if you say, okay, I come to the limit of intelligence, now I drop my intelligence, or I drop these views, or I drop this information. No, I have to admit, okay, both are true, but I don't know how. Right? I don't have to. Yeah, this is actually the solution. And okay, there are some areas which cannot be solved by my intelligence. I have to go the devotional path. And anyway, it's not about intelligence anyway. It's about devotion. In Vrindavan, no one figured out Krishna or wants to figure out Krishna. They just want to love Krishna. And even there, they are not understanding him. And they don't bother to not understand Krishna, because we have something way better to do than to measure and understand Krishna. We can play with him, we can love him, and all that. So your question, where to draw the line? What is the principle, where to draw the line? As I said, any one of us anyway has certain intelligence and can go to certain areas. Then you will, but more or less the principle for how to behave with the contradiction, that would be more. But where the line is quite difficult to draw for me now. Right? No, okay, okay, something else?
Just in this connection, I mean, some people would say, if you don't believe in a certain thing,
Yeah.
a certain religion, then you go to hell forever.
Yeah.
And we would say, wait, God is all merciful. That would
Yeah.
be contradictory.
Yeah.
And then they would say, but He's also all just.
Yeah.
So it's both true at the same
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
and I don't know how. So what would we
Yeah,
answer that?
any religion has its own parameters in which they work, and they have their convictions, and this religion bashing is anyway not helpful and useful. And interreligious dialogue is, but interreligious dialogue doesn't mean we bash the others, and it doesn't mean also we say we're all the same. Interreligious dialogue is very interesting when you understand, okay, what is this religion, and also how is it different from mine, but I don't have any trouble with it. I don't want to convert them, they don't want to convert me.
Most of the time they want.
Huh?
Most of the time they want.
Yeah, this is then...
They talk to me.
They talk to, yeah, okay. If they attack you, of course, and it goes into argument, you can choose to argue, or you can choose Hare Krishna. I have no interest in your discussion, in this discussion. You can choose. What is helpful for your bhakti, right? Maybe it's helpful for your bhakti to go into a discussion, and you will get nice realization about Krishna through this. Depends. Okay, Sanjay. Keine Frage, oder? Ach, du hast dich nur gestreckt. Okay, dann Kishori. Okay, dann doch. Na, jetzt hast du es schon, jetzt mach. Verschwende keine Zeit, stell deine Frage.
Ich hatte eine Frage, aber eigentlich Sachen, die ich gedacht habe, aber das ist nicht so wichtig.
Gut, Kishori? Okay, passt, dann passt doch. Hare Krishna.
Ich habe einen Kommentar, weil Sie beide
Okay, sie hat doch eine Kunde.
Jetzt nächste Form mit jetzt ins Weg.
Danke. Wo sich die Hingabe, ja, ist besser, wo sich die Hingabe entwickeln kann, und das sind so niedliche Überraschungen, so dass man entweder hat man Gefühl dafür oder nicht, ja. Also der eine, wir sind ja alle auf verschiedenen Stufen und haben verschiedene Empfindungen und Wertigkeiten. Und vielleicht ist das immer auch ein Weg, wie wir uns dabei verhalten, bei verschiedenen Gelegenheiten, die er uns gibt, schenkt, und die dazu führen können zur Hingabe oder nicht so. Ja, ich denke mal, das macht vielleicht auch viel aus. Jeder ist ja anders, ja.
Ja, klar. Danke. Subal, eine Frage?
Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhu, for the nice lecture. You talked about that we have to have a higher realization, way higher realization than Shastra itself.
Not higher realization than Shastra. This sounds also difficult, but you realize Shastra.
Okay.
This is the point, that you understand what is meant here. And either one thing is you just read it and have a theoretical understanding, or you really know what it means. You understand the content of Shastra.
Okay. Yeah, so that's actually connected to my question. So by reading Srila Prabhupada's books or Shastra, can this realization come just by reading?
Yeah, I think so. I've experienced that many things I can realize. Or let's say that the Shastra gives me a certain information, and somehow it works inside myself, and I can understand it on a higher platform. It gives realization, right? The Shastra is like an impetus, and it gives like an imprint in our consciousness, and it lets us realize what is meant here, what can we understand. And there are many things, also very practical things and simple things in one sense. That's very important to hear Shastra and hear the Acharya and hear Prabhupada, because his realization is there too. Prabhupada's realization is definitely there too in his books. Now, the consciousness is kind of transported. And the Shastra is the primary way to Krishna. Of course, the holy name also in connection, but It said when you study Shastra, you hear about the devotees, like in Vrindavan, of role models. And through this, you get there, you follow them. This is the primary way how to follow them. When you hear about the devotees in Vrindavan, especially in Vrindavan. Krishna's pastimes in connection with his devotees, you hear their descriptions, and then you get their mood. And then this will work in your chanting. Right? So Shastra is that's why I said in the beginning it sounds very complicated to understand. Shastra is just an approximation, right? It's not just an approximation, it's like the content, but it wants to give us directly, so to say. There's some essence. The essence of Shastra has to be understood. And this can happen only also through the proper attitude how we study Shastra. Because there are people who study Shastra and have no realization. So Prabhupada says it depends on the attitude of the practitioner. Okay. Balaram hat noch einen Kommentar und dann machen wir Schluss.
Zum Thema von das Lila oder was man sich erinnert während dem Chanten. Einmal hat ein Devotee Prabhupada gefragt, dürfen wir an Lila denken, wenn wir chanten? Und Prabhupada hat gesagt, ja, aber wenn es dir spontan einfällt.
Genau, das ist der Punkt. This is the very important point. Because there are devotees, there are two extremes. One extreme is you should not think anything or hear anything about the holy name. Never ever. Kind of. And the other extreme is, no, you should think about all kinds of things during chanting. Right? So, but these are two extremes as I can understand. You should hear the holy name. As I said, you have the background of your rasa, your studies, your information about Krishna, but the holy name is primary. Yeah, some scars, devotional some scars. But when Krishna manifests through the holy name, which is then not different from the holy name either, right? It's not that you go into a separate thought. Then it's perfect, it's wonderful, it should be there. And that's what Prabhupada meant. Prabhupada said, yeah, this will happen through the holy name, but not through your endeavor in the mind, so to say, to imagine now the Leela and to think about Krishna pastimes. And Leela Smaranam is done for us through reading the books. We have it anyway. There you can meditate. There you can think about Leela. There you can imagine, oh, how is it meant? Oh, Krishna dances on Kaliya and all that, and the things come into your mind. Yes, of course. It's not that we should never think about the Leela, but not during the chanting. That's the point. Chanting is chanting. Leela Smaranam, studying, is something else. No, you can't force it when you study the Shastra. You read it, not force, but you think about it. How is it? That it becomes alive. Like reading any book. In any book, when you read there, it becomes alive. You're not just reading words. And so these pastimes become alive. And it's very wonderful. That's how it should be. Yeah? But this is during the reading, not during the chanting. Okay, thank you. I'm a bit over time. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Brahmanande.
Einkaufen ist keine gute Idee. Prabhu, kannst du das Mikrofon lassen auf den Boden stellen? Einfach auf den Boden stellen, bitte. Das haben wir, ja.